So because I expressed my frustration with people referring to the Fennec and AMAX as overpowered in a previous video, this video gets to be a bit shorter and a little bit more to the point. Today we're going to be talking about the Fennec SMG that was recently added with Season 4 of Modern Warfare, some of my favorite loadouts to use with it, some rules of thumb, some tips and tricks, and my overall experience with the weapon is going to take center stage here. My reviews are not statistical breakdowns like Exclusive Ace or Drifter. I am trying to just share my opinions on the weapon, share my experience, and talk about how it affects the game. So, first things first, I'll get it out of the way because I already talked about it. Is the Fennec overpowered? In my opinion, no. It's very good, it's very competent at what it does, but overpowered? No, that implies that it's better than most things, and unfortunately, for anybody trying to claim that it is for clickbait, it's not. Let's give the term overpowered some more weight here. Let's do it a little bit more justice. Overpowered means it has to be better than, I would say, 80 to 90% of the other weapons in the game. It has to make other weapons irrelevant because of its existence, and unfortunately, it's not. Okay, so that's the last I'll say it. I've beat that dead horse already in this video now, so we're done talking about that. What does this weapon do well? This weapon fires at around 1100 RPM. It is a bullet hose and has the option for a 40 round magazine, and of course you can put on the usual 5mm laser and Merc foregrip. So what is it really great at? It's great at close range, hip firing, just a great weapon that doesn't require too much accuracy. When you have firepower, who needs to be precise? And that's really where this weapon shines. Close to close mid-range engagements where you can keep your sight on somebody or get your gun up quickly. You see, there's sort of an issue with using some other SMGs that fire slower in close quarters engagements because you have to be a lot more precise because there's more distance in between your shots. So if you start, sweeping left and right, there's going to be larger gaps in your field of fire. Whereas with the Fennec here, you don't really have to worry about those gaps. So because the Fennec fires faster, you have a more gapless spray. So when you sweep over people, you don't really have to worry so much about landing each individual shot like you would with the Bison or an Uzi or a slower firing assault rifle. Because rate of fire doesn't just equal more damage per second, it also just means more ease of use up close. It means you have to be, again, less precise. So, in close quarters engagements, this weapon's very good, and I highly recommend hip firing this thing with a Merc foregrip and a 1 or 5mm laser. You don't just have to worry about low damage at longer ranges and the fact that you're going to start getting 7-shot kills pretty quickly. No, that's not really what you have to worry about. For me, the worst part of the Fennec is its bullet velocity. I didn't have trouble controlling my recoil at longer ranges, I had trouble leading targets at longer ranges. Even with the maximum bullet velocity I could get out of the weapon, I still had trouble firing at people that were moving at a distance because it just felt like I was throwing airsoft pellets. I don't know if that's a bug, I don't know if I'm just stupid, or maybe I just thought it and then I overcorrected, so let me know if I'm wrong in the comment section below, please. But for me, the biggest problem at a distance was bullet velocity, not overall damage. What doesn't help is also the recoil of this weapon. This weapon, though proficient and not terribly hard to aim, does have a fair amount of kick. I recommend speccing your weapon for ammo capacity, hip fire, and recoil control as seen in this loadout here. You want the ZLR 18-inch deadfall integrally suppressed barrel, the Merc foregrip, a 40 round drum mag, and a 1mm laser. Anything else is entirely up to you. But there's two other variants of this setup. This one is exactly the same, but instead of the integrally suppressed barrel, we use the custom ZLR Saber suppressor instead. These don't affect our sprint out times, they do slow our movement speed down, but that's honestly okay. What we want is the ability to come out of sprint and be able to hip fire somebody, so you want the 5mm laser or maybe a stippled grip. If you want to go a little bit faster, use the ZLR Saber suppressor. If you want to be a little bit more accurate, I would use the Deadfall Integral suppressor. And the last variant that I want to talk about here is the 16-inch Apex barrel combined with the ZLR suppressor. This should increase your damage range, your bullet velocity, and your recoil control. Also keeps you off the minimap, and it makes the iron sights more usable by removing a lot of muzzle flash and extra particle effects. None of these barrels make the gun feel sluggish, I still feel like I'm using a pretty lightweight SMG. The nice thing about them is that they add versatility to an otherwise very, very niche weapon, helping you control your recoil, stay on target easier, and to just give you a little bit more velocity and range, although I wouldn't be surprised to find out that these barrels aren't actually increasing your velocity at all. because I had a very inconsistent bullet velocity experience. I wouldn't be surprised if they're bugged or the attachments are just wrong in some way, but I can definitely feel how much more accurate the weapon is when I use these attachments, and suppressors are just the way to go with SMGs in my opinion. If you can run a suppressor on SMG, I think you should do it. With these types of videos, I don't normally do any sort of perk suggestion, but I do recommend running the tracker perk so that you are hiding the people you're killing from your enemies. And the reason this is a good thing is so that you can stealthily flank people. This weapon doesn't give you a lot of options, and versatility is just not the name of the game here. Your goal with this weapon is to hold down a close quarters area, and every time you get a kill, if you know you're safe, just check your corners, make sure you're safe, give it a second, reload. Because the reload time, even with sleight of hand, is kind of terrible on this gun. The name of the game with the Fennec is move into a close quarters area, start taking people out, and when you're safe, reload. Even if you have 30 rounds left, reload. You're going to burn through those very, very quickly. You want to make sure you have full health and a full magazine at all times. So I honestly kind of recommend ammo box, scavenger, fully loaded. I also recommend quick fix or stim shots so that you can always be at full health. That way you can fight other more damaging weapons up close, because the MP5 will still out DPS you with its 3-shot kill. If you're playing this weapon to its strengths, you should only need 4 shots to kill. But if you're hitting the limbs, you might need 5, so be careful. And with this weapon in close quarters, you really want to master hip fire into aiming down sight. You see somebody up close, do not wait until you are on target to fire. Just start shooting and bring the sight onto them. It'll give them a very melty, frustrating death. And I think that's what's leading a lot of people into thinking this weapon is overpowered because you die very quickly to it. But the amount of effort you have to put to do that and the lack of variety is well worth mentioning in my opinion. Honestly, a big problem with this weapon is that other weapons exist. Now, this gun is very good and it fits its niche properly. If you like using shotguns and close range fast firing weapons like the P90 or like a shotgun, I would recommend using the Fennec. It would definitely fit your playstyle. But during my play session tonight, I picked up an MP7 for a little bit, and my god, it was night and day. And then later I used an M4, and my god, it was so nice to play with a weapon that's competent up close and also very good at a distance. A lot of the weapons in Modern Warfare that roll the meta, they aren't just high fire rate or good DPS, they're just capable of fighting at either 10 meters or 50 meters. And that's something the Fennec doesn't have going for it. I'm not saying you can't make ranged engagements work, but yeah, of course you could. You could also put slugs on your shotgun, put a scope on it, and use it like a DMR. It doesn't mean it's the best course of action though. It could kill somebody, but, is it really the weapon you should be using? In terms of versatility, the AUG, the MP5, really any other SMG is just a bit better. The Fennec is probably, in my opinion, the most niche gun in this game outside of sniper rifles and shotguns. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's something worth noting, that other weapons are just more versatile. So while the Fennec definitely nails close quarters combat, it fails when it comes to versatility. If you're an aggressive rusher, you love getting into a building and killing everyone in it, you love holding down a hard point even, the Fennec might be the right gun for you. The only problem is other weapons might require less shots to kill at the ranges that you're using the Fennec. For instance, the MP5 or a shotgun. So you have to sort of balance that out for yourself. But I'm glad this weapon was added into the game. Yes, you can have a really melty death by it, but what can't melt you in this game at this point? I'm glad they added a meta weapon, a weapon that's actually unique, but still serves a purpose. Unlike the crossbow, which is unique and doesn't serve a purpose, or the Bruin, which is not bad at all, but definitely not meta shaking, we were actually given a gun with a role, and it doesn't really replace any other guns, except for maybe the P90, but that's going to be a later video talking about that, because the P90, though not bad, has always sort of felt like a crappy MP7 that's better for close range, but now the Fennec exists, so in my opinion it's sort of difficult to decide where the hell the P90 goes now. So I'll do a video on that later if I feel like it, if I can come up with enough things to talk about. And I bet right now you guys are wondering, well, aren't you going to talk about the conversion kit boom? I mean, it has a conversion kit, 2-round burst, higher damage. Well, the conversion kit is completely counterintuitive to the reason I would use the Fennec. It's counterintuitive to the reason you should use the Fennec. It's not practical in any way, and much like me having sex, it's not bad, it's just not worth showing any footage of in this video, so hopefully you guys can understand. The Fennec is a great gun, but if you're fighting somebody who's shooting at you already with a higher damaging rifle, if you're fighting somebody who's moving at a distance or is using cover, it sort of becomes a very crappy gun. The Fennec is at its best with a clear, unaware target in close to mid-close range. A clear, unaware target is perfect. A target that knows where you are and is fighting back at you with an AR of any kind, you're kind of screwed. The Fennec just can't outgun people unless they are terrible at aiming. But if that person is terrible at aiming, but has most of their body covered by cover, it's not a good gun to fight those people. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys learned something, or at least enjoyed watching it and wasting your life with this. Subscribe. Thank you for your free time.